It always comes down to this. You got to go to battle against your division foes, and you got to bring everybody you can. Who should that be this week on Locked On Chiefs?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back in, everyone. You can start a big return at FanDuel right now. New customers, you place a $5 bet, you get $150 back in bonus bets just for winning that $5 bet over at FanDuel.com. Go over there to get started. We're going to get started with Matt Derrick, the man from Chiefs Digest, the man inside the mic on 41 is the mic, the man that gives us perspective so that I don't go off the deep end like I sometimes do. Welcome in. Thanks for joining us. And thanks for making us your first listen. And go check out another Locked On show for your next one. There are plenty around, including the Chargers show, where I will have one of their guests on with me tomorrow, their host with me as a guest tomorrow. So don't miss that crossover show as well. A lot coming here. And I appreciate you guys being with us. Like, sub, hit the bell on Do the Auto platforms. And everywhere you can get a show, get us every day, like the everydayers do. And you can get that much more at 816-357-8781. We need to talk about what this game can begin inside the AFC West and where it's going towards the end of December. Now that we're here in December, it's significant. That's coming up later in the show. Then, before we get to that, we have to talk about the offensive tackle situation. What are the options? What are the yays and the nays, and who's arguing inside the rooms right now, today, tomorrow, Wednesday, when you're watching this, the whole 9 yards. We start, though, with the general concept of where this team is. Matt, Andy Reid came back on Monday, and I felt was a solemn presser from his office with you guys in the press corps. And it really struck me that this seems to have caught him off guard. The level of performance across the offense, and I'm not just talking about the tackles. We'll get to them next segment. It just feels like underperformance is starting to get to him, and he seems a little bit more frustrated than maybe I've seen him in a couple of seasons. How did you take his demeanor and what that means for the state of the offense?
Yeah, I mean, I think I took it more than anything, Ryan, that it's just the time of year. The calendar has turned to December, so this is when I think, Andy wants to kind of underline with the team, the players, coaches alike, that this is when it gets more serious. This is when normally the Chiefs begin the stretch drive. I mean, it's a little bit different now with 17 games and longer seasons, and it's probably a little bit different this year at 11-1. But I think it's a little bit of just the situation, the time. I think he wants to kind of drive. It's the time that he wants to drive home with everybody that this is when it gets real. And, I mean, and I don't even think that I haven't sensed that his frustration is entirely with one place, one person, one position, anything of that nature. I mean, I think it's a little bit with everything, because I think if you look at as many problems that you can have with an 11-1 team and as much disappointment and frustration that you can have with an 11-1 team, everybody's got a little piece of it, as he would like to say.
And that's fair. And I do believe spreading it out and making it another thing to rally the team around makes a lot of sense. As far as making corrections, I want to get down to where you feel right now as we start to talk about that upswing, that stretch drive. Who's the least? Who's the worry point at this point? Whether it's reps through the season for some of the older players or lack of development for some of the younger players that you really want to spend December concentrating on to improve that floor for this offense?
Yeah, I mean, if anything right now, it's just about identifying your rotations and figuring out who you're going to lean on come January. And yeah, I mean, I think that the Chiefs have gone a little long in some places as far as their load management, if you will, in the rotations. They probably need to be leaning on some more people than they are in certain spots. I mean, Chris Jones, I don't think he was entirely joking after the game Friday when he talked about just how tired he was and the workload and everything, because he's been playing a lot of snaps. A lot of guys have been playing a lot of snaps. And, and some of that may be because they just trust the guys that they've got. I mean, hey, if you're a rookie, you're probably still making some rookie mistakes at this point, especially because the Chiefs haven't leaned on their rookies as much outside of Xavier Worthy. They probably haven't really leaned on Jaden Hicks as much as they probably could and should, and some other guys, some other young guys. But now they're going to have to figure it out because they don't entirely know who their number 2 corner is going to be going into the playoffs. they're still working out, what's their rotation at defensive line behind maybe their top 3 or 4 guys, but then trying to figure out who's going to fit in and how you're going to divide the workload after that. I mean, we can talk about offensive tackle, but, the Chiefs are also trying to, work out that wide receiver rotation because if, remember, they're not going to have Hollywood probably until maybe the last game or 2 of the season. And they're hoping to get him back, but you're trying to get right now, your focal point of the wide receiver room is less about getting production week in and week out. It's all about how do you get DeAndre Hopkins up to speed by the time the playoffs come around so that he's 100% healthy, fresh, ready to go, and has as much of the playbook as possible. I mean, those are your goals right now. It's not, for the most part, it's really, that's what Andy Reid's focusing on. And that's what he wants his coaching staff to figure out right now because, yes, you're still fighting for the number 1 seed. There's things to figure out, but it's all about getting this team ready that they're playing their best football in January.
I think that's what it comes down to as well. In some things always stand out in that wide receiver rotation in particular. When you look at who played and who didn't and who wasn't able to really solidify themselves as part of that rotation, I think it's a week-to-week thing. But did anything surprise you about this last week about utilization?
Yeah, if anything that surprised me, I think that one, it was a little bit of, I think the experimentation with Xavier Worthy is over and the testing of Xavier Worthy. Now it's about, I think, just getting Xavier Worthy doing what he's good at. Yes, you're going to take maybe a shot or 2 a game downfield with Xavier Worthy. I mean, the Chiefs tried that. I mean, if Mahomes has maybe a half second more to throw that ball, that probably is a walk-in touchdown. I mean, it was a well-executed play, well called. He just needed more time. But when you're talking about some of these just quick outs, the crossers underneath stuff, I mean, these are the bread and butter. I mean, there's 3 or 4 plays with Xavier Worthy that are potential home run plays every single time. You can get him the ball in space and just let him do some things. It's less about maybe experimenting with him with multiple route options and, putting him in spots where maybe it's decisions to be made. No, I mean, it's pretty much at this point, you kind of figured out what he's really good at, and he can beat any defense at any given moment on a couple of these routes and a couple of these plays. You hammer away at that. You just do what he's doing best. You get that perfect so that by the time January comes around, you need 3rd and 8. Okay, you got a 10-yard out for a first down to Xavier Worthy every single time. You just need a chunk play. You can get the ball to Xavier Worthy on an underneath crosser, and he can get you 15 yards every single time. I mean, it's just, those are the things you're just working on making perfect rather than just figuring out, okay, what can he do?
I mean, if the Broncos can do it, X can do it, right? That's how I feel about it. So let's get after it. He's not the only one, though. There's other players, and obviously there's a big decision to be made at the offensive tackle position. Who's the best option? That's coming up next. With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about the gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talks and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. To get this new customer offer and a 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL to cut your wireless bill to $15 a month with mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings. Prize Picks has daily fantasy sports and makes it accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your money. Run your game all season long at Prize Picks. They make it simple, and they even invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So sign up today and you can get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. You don't even have to win to receive that 50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the Game Time app and use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and you're going to get $50 instantly after you play a $5 lineup. Super simple. Download that app, use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and get that 50 bonus for playing a $5 lineup. Super easy over at PrizePicks. There's a lot that has to go into that, and there's a lot that has to go into the decision-making. I do feel lately, one of the things that I think needs to get tighter, as you said, needs to get more serious here at the end of the season, is game planning and scoping out the entirety of a ball game rather than just the first 15. That starts and ends with the tackle situation. I want to know if you agree with me. The bottom line is, because of the physical nature of where Wanye Morris is, the only option I see is not playing Wanye Morris at this point. Do you concur with that?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly feels like after Sunday, I mean, he was struggling not only, I don't think it was as bad as what Kingsley had in a period of snaps, but, the mental part of it was starting to get to him, and the fatigue part of it. So, and once again, I mean, it's not necessarily the total number of pressures or sacks or anything, because let's face it, I mean, the rest of the offensive line wasn't great against the Raiders either. They gave up some pressures. Raiders kind of overwhelmed them in the run game, but it's the quality of some of the pressures. And they're not all created equal, not all sacks. If you can give your quarterback 3.5 seconds, especially Patrick Mahomes, he's going to be able to make some things work. You give up a sack after 3.5 seconds, not great, but you can at least, it's acceptable. Giving up a sack after like 2 or 2.5 seconds, that's the problem. And that's where the Chiefs just had too many plays with Wanye that were just absolutely obliterated. And that was the frustration that Mahomes had on that last play. Didn't have a chance to get rid of the football if he wanted to before Max Crosby was just all over him. And that was just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. So what are your options? I mean, Joe Thuney, even in those 6 snaps, I think he showed, hey, is he going to probably give up some pressures as a left tackle too? Yeah, I mean, he's not an all-pro left tackle. He's an all-pro left guard for a reason. But is he going to maybe keep a guy off your quarterback for an extra second or two? Yeah, that's the benefit. So is DJ Humphries better than him? I don't know. And that's the problem. The Chiefs don't know either until you get him in there. But remember, here we are, going into Wednesday's practice, and I doubt that Wednesday's practice is going to be a padded practice either, because for the Chiefs, it usually isn't this time of year. Thursday is going to be DJ Humphries' first padded practice with the Chiefs. I mean, he's been here 9-10 days at this point, hadn't had a padded practice yet. I mean, that's just the way that because of the nature of the Friday game, the nature of just this time of year. And that's why Andy Reid, when he talked on Monday about this situation and said, wait a minute, I'm not entirely sure it's going to be fair to put DJ Humphries in there this week. The plan all along for the Chiefs was never that DJ Humphries was going to play this week. They wanted him to get a couple of weeks to get back into football shape, just to kind of get settled and everything. So throwing him in there this week against the Chargers wasn't part of the plan. Now, what they hoped was that Wanye was still in there. So that wasn't part of the calculation. So what's going to happen this week? I mean, I think it's probably Joe Thuney's game to play left tackle. I mean, when I asked Andy Reid about specifically, he's like, hey, yeah, Joe Thuney, we want him to be our left guard because he's a really good left guard. That's where he's best. But when it comes down to putting players in their best positions, and I think he's going to be really hesitant to put DJ Humphries and to push him out there too soon, because, hey, what happens if you do? Do you want to destroy DJ Humphries the way you've destroyed Kingsley and Wanye? Because he's at this point your last line of defense. So are you putting him out there until you feel like he's 100% ready to go? That's where I think the Chiefs probably are. So I'd be surprised if DJ Humphries plays this week. I think it's much more likely that it comes after that. I mean, you got the Browns after that. Then you've got that stretch with the Texans and the Steelers. I mean, it's a quick turnaround. So there's a lot that's going on in the next couple of weeks. And, and part of me even wonders then, I mean, do you hold back DJ Humphries? Because if you're talking about his first action being against the Browns, I mean, you're talking about 3 games in 10 days for a guy who hasn't played football in almost a year. I mean, that's a tough ask too. So, that's why the Chiefs have a lot to think about here in the next few weeks.
Personally, my inclination would be that he can play Pittsburgh. Let him sit. Let him get acclimated. Don't put him through that ringer so that you set him up for not just success to end this season and get acclimated, but for the postseason. Personally, I feel like moving Joe Thuney to tackle degrades 2 positions. I'd rather have the interior stay solid. I personally feel like option number 3 here, as we've outlined them, would probably be letting Kingsley Suamataia play and designating tight end help on nearly every play just to kind of lock down that outside. I feel that that's acceptable against this particular defense because you have a power rusher. You're going to get some doubles. You're going to get some blitzes on that package where you want an extra body maybe to the outside. And I feel like this is an opportunity to say, we need you. We went away from you. Show us what you've been able to develop at this point. How far off am I? Am I altogether too rosy? Or what's the possibility of going back to the young guy in the interim for right now?
I mean, I'll be honest. I don't think that unless something really disastrous happens, I don't think that Wanye or Kingsley are coming back as a starter. I mean, one of those guys is going to have to, even if DJ Humphries comes back and is a starter, somebody's going to have to be your third tackle. So, I mean, they're going to have to go with somebody there. And, is there another outside option? I mean, I don't think that's the case either. I mean, there's not really enough reps and enough practice time this time of year to get 2 outsiders up and running at left tackle or even for a swing tackle. So I don't know that, the Chiefs are even interested in looking outside the organization at this point. Now they're rolling with what they've got. So I don't know. I'll be very surprised if either Kingsley or Wanye kind of figures back into the equation. Like I said, barring something disastrous, like, injuries could certainly play a part in that. But one thing, you touched on, I think would be smart, but I'm just not sure that the Chiefs are going to go with is, giving these guys more support because, it's been a very rare thing that the Chiefs, pull in and do much more than chipping. And sometimes, what Andy Reid thinks is chipping is not what necessarily you think is chipping. So, I mean, sometimes just patting the guy on his way out is kind of what it is. And maybe that's sometimes even the execution of it because these guys aren't asked to do that a lot. So, what does it look like when they do? But here, I'm going to throw out another alternative, Ryan, that might be something we see against the Chargers this week because, the Chiefs are coming off a game where the Raiders had a lot of success run blitzing. And, the Chiefs could not run up the middle, couldn't run between the tackles. So what would they do this week? I mean, especially with, the Chargers' strength of that defense being on the edges. I mean, Andy Reid typically will go right at that. So is this a week where they're going to focus a little bit more on this outside run? Are they going to focus on the edges a bit more? Maybe the screen game, short passes, trying to get those ends involved and dropping back and forcing them to watch out for that. So at least you're slowing down that pass rush a little bit that way. I mean, I think you're probably going to see a strategic element to try and slow down those edges and give your tackles some help that way more than keeping in a pass receiver, a pass catcher, because, hey, that's what Andy Reid, he wants as many guys out there catching footballs as possible.
It makes sense, and it certainly fits his MO. The question is, will that be enough? We won't know. If it is, it'll start them down a road that they have to get on here pretty quick. What does that look like for the upswing coming up next? Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers, you can bet just $5 and you get $150 back in bonus bets if you win right now. FanDuel Sportsbook, the app, gives you everything that you need to get bets in place for the NFL all in one place. So when you got a hunch in the middle of the game, you want to check out the latest stats, you live by that play-by-play, you can do that and much more on the same page right where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com today and join. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 and official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Folks, you can get all of Matt's work over at ChiefsDigest.com and here on the YouTube platform at Chiefs Digest. You can get mine at RGR Football here on YouTube and RGRFootball.com, as well as NFL33.com, where I've stopped pulling punches. I'm just telling you like it is. If you happen to be a Giants fan or a Bears fan, look out. So get over there and have a look. Matt, this is the season This is, like you said, the part where they start to accelerate. Buckle it down. Get more serious. They need to, because let's be real. It's Chargers, Browns, Texans, Steelers, Broncos. The Bills aren't slowing down. We've seen them be able to maybe not make some of the mistakes they've made in the past. Great snow game for them. The Denver Broncos have found their quarterback of the future, and they're starting to play like it on top of that defense that has already given the Chiefs fits. So for me, it's you have to get on that path towards the upswing right now, and it's got to be against a division foe. What's the biggest obstacle, knowing the history of these two teams, Chargers versus Chiefs, and getting onto that path towards the promised land?
I mean, I think this game starts and it's probably even ends a little bit with the coaching, because Chargers got a better coach than they've had in a long, long time, and that shows on the field. I mean, it's been a difference. The Chargers play a lot like Jim Harbaugh. They're tough. They're better in one-score games than they've been in the past. So the fact that they've got that winning mentality that Harbaugh is giving them is certainly helping. So, you're going to get the Chargers' best shot. This is not the snake-bitten Chargers, and it's not the Raiders or even a little bit of the Broncos, but certainly the Raiders. They're not going to beat themselves. They're not going to make those mistakes that those teams do. So this is, I mean, to me, it's the tougher of the AFC West matchups that you got now if you're the Chiefs. The advantage that you've got is that, hey, this time of year, rest matters. And as much as we're talking about the Chiefs being beaten up, having that 2-day edge on the Chargers, who had to go out to play Atlanta on the East Coast, and now they're coming back and then going to the Midwest to play Kansas City. I mean, that 2 days is an advantage. And normally this time of year, that situation, I mean, that can be worth some points. So Chiefs have an edge in this one. I mean, I think the spread's about right as far as a 4-point advantage. The Chiefs are the better team. I mean, they should win this game. Is this going to be an opportunity for the Chiefs to blow out somebody? I mean, if they did at the end of their schedule blow out somebody, the Chargers are probably the last team I'd pick, because I just think that they're too tough. They're built for this. Are they the Chiefs yet? Are they on that tier? No, I don't think that they are. But they've got the elements of it. They got the quarterback. They got some strong veterans. I mean, I do think that they're starting to show a little bit of, that late season rundown, because they are a little aged at some places. The same complaints that Chris Jones has about the season being too long and too many games and too many days. I know that Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack are having the exact same conversations in Los Angeles. So, I mean, this isn't going to be easy. But if the Chiefs win this, remember, they're going to be 5-0 in the AFC West. They'll have the advantage, the tiebreaker over everybody, even against the Broncos. If they were to lose the season finale, they'd still have Broncos would have best can be 4-2 in the West. So they'd have the tiebreaker over everybody. It gets you that at least peace of mind that if you don't have the West clinched yet, you're going to be pretty darn close to it.
I think that comes into how you approach the game as well. And in defending, like we talked about earlier, a couple of question marks on the defensive side of the ball, one being the cornerback spots. And I say spots because one change may facilitate three changes at who lines up where on who. And in my mind, nothing against Josh Palmer. He's made some plays against the Chiefs in the past, and I do give him credit for that. But this year, it's Lad McConkey and Quentin Johnson that you have to lock down. And for me, that looks like a very specific matchup palette that I would choose from. How do you expect the Chiefs to address what they do with their corners?
Yeah, I'll probably do a little bit different on Lad McConkey than they did last time. He might be the guy that you just need to bracket. I mean, you may need to put two guys on him. So how the Chiefs defend McConkey, I think is going to be pretty interesting. Is it just strictly a matchup for Trent McDuffie, or is it McDuffie plus, or is it somebody else plus? I mean, with McDuffie, you at least have the option that he could follow a guy anywhere, but the Chiefs can have some different thoughts as far as, whether it's inside, outside, left, right. I mean, you can do some different things, but what I don't know, and you make a good point about talking about 2 and 3, because I mean, let's be real here. Jamari Connor hasn't played great football lately either. I mean, he's been up and down. So that then does raise the question, do you move, McDuffie a little bit more inside? Because that's probably his better position. And outside of maybe like a Chris Roland Wallace, everybody else's better position might be outside. Who is your number 2? I don't know. Is it going to be Nazia back? Is he going to be back in there? Is it Josh Williams? Is it door number 3? I mean, Chris Roland Wallace, Keith Taylor are options too. Keith Taylor is probably the interesting one in that he hasn't really gotten a shot at that. He's a veteran. I mean, he is probably is what the back of his football card says that he is, which is about the same as what Josh Williams and Najee Johnson been putting up numbers wise. But is he worth giving him a shot? I don't know. I don't know where the Chiefs are going to go with that. So we'll see if we get any insight from Steve Spagnuolo on Thursday about where they're going there and what they're thinking as far as cornerback goes. But I'm not 100% sure who's going to be the starter at that spot on Sunday.
I think there's a couple of ways you can go with it. I'm eager to see who they practice, and we'll get back with you later in the week, folks, for the preview show, and we'll lay it out there for you. But this is the magical time of year. As we hit midweek, we always get to get Matt's wisdom. So, Matt, AFC West showdown, you can never really predict it, but give her a shot. What do you think happens?
I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I mean, hey, at least I guaranteed victory last week. I mean, I never had a lack of faith. I knew the Chiefs were going to win this one all the way. I didn't think it was going to be quite that close, but hey, they pulled it out. This is, like I said, once again, it would be the team that if the Chiefs were to blow them out. I mean, of all the teams left on their schedule, this would be the last one I'd pick because the Chargers they're too good. I mean, most of these guys know each other too well. They're too well coached. This is going to be a game that they're going to be up for. It's prime time. Hey, if the Chiefs can go out there and put the hurting on somebody and it's on national TV, it would behoove them to finally do that. Maybe send a message around the league. Hey, stop thinking you have a chance. It's over. This would be the time to send that message. I don't know if they're going to do it or not, but until they do send that message, I'm going to sound like a broken record. It's like same type of numbers every single week. Got the Chiefs 27-23 in this one.
Okay. I can't argue with any of that. I just know that I'm going to take mine down a couple of notches because that's the way it's working this week. Matt, thanks for your time. Thanks for your expertise and your words of wisdom and keeping us ready for this.
I don't know how wise they are, Ryan, but at least they're I don't know how wise they are, but at least they're words.
Folks, thanks for being with us. We very much appreciate you, and we hope you will make sure to check out Matt on his channel and everywhere else that he's putting up content, as well as us here on this one. If I can get the end screen to play, we'll have that. So thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time. We'll catch you tomorrow.